Hey everybody, doing another review of this. The best advice I can give is if you're watching this live, I'm sorry, like I gave you a 15-second heads up. If you're watching this not live, please speed it up because this is going to be feeling very slow and slurred for obvious reasons, but also like I'm enhancing my wine enjoyment with licorice, which basically means I have something in my mouth, and this is going to be weirder either way. But anyways, I don't care. The show sucks ass. You all know it sucks ass. You're here to see me kind of make fun of it. This is going to probably be a worse stream than the last one. Although that was like our most successful stream ever. So I can lord that over Pips and Alex being like, yeah, me rambling alone into a microphone for 90 minutes got more views than all of us put together on other shit. Not fair, not all of them, but it's like our top stream, so yay me. Okay, I also figured out that, and why I called this a medium effort stream is I did some preparatory work beforehand, so I won't be doing the screenshots while I'm trying to review. I did that ahead of time. So I have these all prepared. The one thing that I can't do, and maybe I'll do for next time, is those gray bars on the side. That's just a feature of the PDFing. So there's that. Anyways, the stream's going to suck. I, for some reason, have a chat comment. Maybe I'll respond to the chat this time. LPK is here. Dude, if you want to suffer through this with me, I put the link in the Discord. We can go through this together and we can commiserate. But if you don't want to, I completely understand too, dude. So anyways, I'll be around. That's probably the only chat I'm going to get and the only viewer I'm going to get live for this. But let's dive into this hunk of steaming pile of shit. So the very first scene we get here is a cold open, and I presume it's in the past because we later learn that, of course, Celine is Landfire. You weren't retarded. You would have known that from just the casting announcements or having read the book. But apparently Ishamael is going around and he is sealing, or no, he's not sealing, he's unsealing individually sealed Forsaken. And anyone who's read the books is already being, scratching their head a little bit, being like, why would Ishamael do that? What's his motivation there? Are they like the SEAL Team Dark One or X-Force, or did they get along? Because the entire book's like the whole reason why Rand and the Forces of Light are able to succeed against Forces of Dark, and this is a major theme in the books too, is essentially the Dark One's minions can't work together, or if they try to, it's under very limited circumstances. They're always kind of worried about people betraying each other, and this is just not how they would operate. The lore was very specific that all the Forsaken, although the lore was mistaken, Ishamael was only partially caught, but the other 12 Forsaken were sealed in with the Dark One at the sealing at Shale Ghul, the strike at Shale Ghul that Lewis Theron and the 100 Companions led. And it was precisely because the seals were weakening that the Forsaken broke free. So here's the big lore departure. I think we had an individual seal for Ishi, who must have been partially sealed anyways, but broke out completely at the Eye of the World. And then where Rand had like a one-use magic item, saw Angreal, that amplified his magic 100-fold. Here Ishi just seems to chant some fucking words and break out the next Forsaken. So whatever. And it just happens to be Landfire. So going through my notes here, I don't like that Ishi seems to be reciting a verbal component to his spell in order to get it to work. I don't like how Landfire teleports in and she's covered in blood for some reason. And I don't understand how Bail Doman got access to a poem that was apparently transcribed on the seal here, which doesn't appear to exist. But moreover, the seal breaks into a billion pieces. So Bail Doman stumbled upon the broken seal, managed to piece it all together, see that somebody had written on this thing in the, I don't know, recent past in Old Tongue, and transcribed essentially in Old Tongue the Blood Calls Blood poem. Like, there was a reason why the Blood Calls Blood poem was in the books the way it was. Here, it just seems kind of out of place, and apparently they drenched Landfire in blood in order to get with the program. Anyways, this is not cool. Like, it's kind of gross, but whatever. All right. Then for some reason, we like get into 2 minutes of Downton Abbey. I know the reason. It's kind of like the whole season's been Downton Abbey. But we get a full-on minute of this chick dressing and no one speaking. And I think the whole reason for this scene is to let us know that this actress, Lindsey Duncan, who played in Rome and was like the crazy Servilia chick that Caesar was fucking but couldn't get rid of, is the younger sister. I looked it up just so that we know, like, at the time of filming, I think Lindsey Duncan was early 70s, like 71 or 70 maybe. And Rosamund Pike was about 42, so there's a 30-year age gap. Pike is supposed to be the older sister here, so what this is implying is that Moraine is an 80-year-old character, maybe 75, which means she was 55 or 60 at the time of Rand's birth when she would have heard Guitar Moroso. So already that means, unless she was the world's worst accepted, she wouldn't have been accepted at the time. I went back to check what was actually said in this in season 1. It was still ambiguous, but let's just remember that for like continuity going forward. If they decide to remember the books and make Moraine an accepted at the time that she found out about all this, then we have a serious problem. Or not really. We just have another problem to put on the giant shit pile that is the continuity and the lore of the show. It's fucking stupid. One last thing to point out. Remember that mirror that Lindsey Duncan is looking into? Just memory hole that away for a little bit later. Okay, so then we have a burned in scene. So Rand burned down the inn, and he feels bad about it, and he starts apologizing more than any Canadian would. And then Landfire, or Celine, sorry, shows up and says, well, if you rebuild my inn, how am I going to charge you room and board? Being like, how are you going to fuck me? And it's like, maybe for free? I don't know. The dialogue is terrible, but we get a reveal that fucking Celine has a cabin in the woods. All right, what could go wrong? And in the meantime, Rand absolutely has no idea that he had a 3-episode long Logain plot that no one gives a shit about anymore. Okay, so we cut back to the White Tower, and to confirm the shit bucket theory, what do we see prominently displayed in the initial scene here? It's Nynaeve, and she has a chamber pot under her bed. Zero plumbing confirmed. They actually looked this up. You have a pot under the bed that you shit and piss into. The one thing that they got wrong about this is your chamber pot here, Nynaeve, doesn't have a lid. So I'm not even going to give you partial credit, because like every chamber had a chamber pot for this, kind of function, but every chamber pot had a lid, because the last thing you do ever since like since civilization, really, so 7,000 years ago, hunter-gatherers probably shit in the woods and they like walked on, but once you were sedentary or you like established civilization in a location, you were very particular about your shit, how you managed it, especially. And within the home, if you're going to shit in the home into a pot, that pot always had a fucking lid, so you wouldn't have to smell it. Egwene would have to smell it when she collected it, but nobody else would have to smell it. So, not even partial credit. I'm sorry, show. This is terrible. Okay, so 40 seconds in, she puts on her giant ring with no gem in it. Her room is enormous, so I don't know if anyone recall. Well, hopefully people recall from reading the books. The novice quarters are supposed to be absolutely tiny, and the accepted quarters are supposed to be like incrementally a little bit larger. But she's got like a fucking palace. It's probably the same room that they either used for the balcony scenes or for the Amerlin seat, but it's ridiculously large, and they could maybe fit like 30 people. This much real estate in that White Tower, it's dumb, but we all know that. And then the only other comments I have on this one, look, yeah, this is the worst acting I've ever seen. Anybody who praises the actors all the time, they're just doing that to basically get brownie points for, I have nothing against the actors and they're doing the best that they can. No, these actors suck. Just look at Egwene's overacting in this, or Madeline Madden. She's never taking an acting lesson or whatever in her life. Same with Zoe Robbins. What's her one credit before this? Power Rangers. It shows. These people are completely inexperienced. They don't know how to emote, or if they're emoting, it's completely over the top. Maybe it's not the actors, but then you have to blame somebody else, like the directors and whatnot, what they ultimately go with. But I mean, this is garbage, and it's not enjoyable kind of melodrama. It doesn't even belong on the CW or whatever. This is crap. I'm sorry, I've been drinking. Okay, so after the gross chamber pot scene, we get an even grosser Alana's gross family scene. So the first thing that struck me as I was going through this today and wondering about it is, why is Alana going to a family barbecue? And how is this her plan? Because in the like previous episode or two previous episodes, when they're leaving the tower, I don't know how they were planning to meet up with Lan, but I'm presuming that there was communication between Alana and Moraine of what the plan was. But apparently in episode 4, the answer is, all right, Alana, Ivan, Maxim met up with Lan, and they're going to take Lan. And then for this episode alone, it's just going to be one day, and they're going to go up to Arafel, which is actually a long distance away from the White Tower. But they're going to hang out at Alanas Family barbecue. I don't know why. It was probably just a location in Morocco that they were kind of going to visit anyways, but basically turns into first a cooking joke about salt, and then an airtight joke about where is Lan's dick gonna go if her anus and her vagina are already being stuffed by the other two warders. So then everyone giggles and realizes, oh, she's going to get a dick in her mouth, and maybe that'll shut her up. Then Lan pisses against a tree for 20 seconds. And all I could think of when I'm looking at this, I know Alex has already mentioned in a previous review that, you could have Lan kind of stalking through the night to steal the horn from Padden Fane at this point in the story. And right here, instead of Lan pissing against a tree and trying to expunge the airtight joke from our minds, we could have had Lan going, or not Lan, we could have had Rand going through Tremoncian and encountering the excavation of the Choden Call. Like, actual stuff that has bearing on the story, but instead we've got these three idiots looking like complete idiots, making sex jokes and all that other stuff. All right. Then it appears Lan is less sad because Moraine took the bond rather than having it severed from him or cut from him. So the first reaction I had is, why did we have to watch all of Steppen's stuff in the first season? Then Alana says that they're going to go back to the tower tomorrow, so confirming this was a day trip to a family barbecue. There's some setting up of Cad Swain, which is dumb because it's way too early. Plus, she's not that great. And then Lan internalized the failure of Moraine. This is what really bugs me. How did Lan fail Moraine? Because she like ditched him. She like masked the bond and went off with Rand alone to the eye of the world, according to the show. And then she got cut off from the one power after that. But like she wasn't expecting to survive, was she? Because that was the whole thing. Like if you weren't the dragon, you go there, you're gonna die. That's why she went off with just herself and Rand. She went on what she thought was a suicide mission. Although, if you're an Aes Sedai and you think you're going on a suicide mission, maybe you bring your warder anyways, because it's like he's in with you no matter what. So, oh god, I just found another fucking problem with season 1. Oh shit. Okay. All I'm saying, Land Buddy, if you still had either testicle, left or right, you wouldn't have internalized this as failure. You would have realized that Moraine's a cunt and you're okay. But that being said, I guess you don't have your testicles, so it is what it is. And then Alana says something about Moraine never being happy, and I can see that, you know, if you're a frosty bitch. Okay. Then we have this beautiful scene where Moraine goes back. She goes through her room. She's got a dollhouse. She apparently has like 3 cigarettes she hasn't smoked in 85 years. And she has the exact same mirror that her sister had in the previous scene. I don't think this is, well, this is set dressing, but like you focus on the same prop, supposedly in 2 different rooms, within 15 minutes of each other, yeah, people are going to notice. So that is the same mirror. The show is fucking cheap, 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 and stupid. All right. So then Elaine walks through, or not Elaine, Moron walks through the streets. We realize she's going to go see Logain. We might clue in, oh, maybe that's why she got the Gildan and wine, but who gives a shit? It gets revealed that this was her plan all along to get the gentle false dragon to train Rand. I wonder when this plan was put into place because, okay, maybe she was doing correspondence with somebody in the White Tower in the last 5 months. We'll wait and see on this, but if this was her plan from the outset, that implies that she knew that Rand was the Dragon Reborn before the post-nut reveal in episode 7. So I don't buy it entirely. But here's the dumb part with this whole scene, and it's what's Moraine's got in her hands here. Apparently, she realizes that the one thing that Logain wants to do is suicide. And apparently, he's having difficulty with it. So her promise is if he trains Rand, then she'll leave the knife so that he can, you know, kill himself in a bath or something like that. Have you seen this fucking dude's kimono? You're telling me he can't like cut that into ribbons and make like an impromptu noose to like throw over the tree branch and hang himself? Like even Jeffrey Epstein supposedly achieved this with like less resources. So show, like seriously, have you never ever met someone who is motivated to kill themselves? Have you ever met your audience, or at least some of our audience? Like they'll find a way. They don't need a knife like this, and it just kind of, yeah, makes the whole scene stupid. Moraine is going to help Logain kill himself with a knife. Like Logain couldn't find some other method to do that. Anyways, dumb scene. Then we get a dumb mopping scene. Egwene says that she apparently loved Rand more than anything. And if we think back to season 1, we have to caveat that with she loved becoming a wisdom even more. That's why she dumped Rand. And there's more terrible acting. Then we've got the warder training scene. So all the quick cuts from this, and everyone immediately jumped on thoughts that, oh, this is Matt training or fighting Galad and Gawain. That's not happening. Like Matt's already out of the White Tower. All those quick cuts with bow stabs, that was this scene here. And then for some reason we've got this anonymous young warder. I checked the X-ray; doesn't even have a name. He gets more lines than Matt or Pern in this fucking episode. So, yeah. Okay, this dude really likes Nynaeve for some reason. But then before you know it, we got our main character showing up. We've got Leandrin comes in, creeps on Egwene for a little bit. And then she goes in to have a chat with Leanne, who we don't really care about, except that Leanne is apparently the she is the keeper, but the Amerlin when the Amerlin is away, and therefore she talks to herself all the time. That is a figure of speech. That is literally not true. If she was an actual Aes Sedai, she wouldn't be able to say that. It's a nitpick at this. No, it's not a nitpick at this point. This is just more lore destruction. Oh yeah, and my other note on this scene says Leandrin reminds me of someone on meth because she is jittery as fuck, guys. Like absolutely crazy feels from this chick, but par for the course. Okay. So then we get like the one scene of Pern in this episode where they're running through the woods with a bunch of dogs. Elias says that the wolves call them wolf brother. I don't think the wolves call humans wolf brother because they don't speak in words and they wouldn't say that. That's kind of like what they call each other. Then we see some more plot vision, but it gets explained that this is the wolves sending visions of either the past or something. But when it's a stag and the wolves are trying to communicate, all right, this is where the stag is going, let's go for a hunt, that's one thing. How would the wolves have seen inside the room where Padden Fane and the other Dark Friends and the Myrddraal killed those families? That's the first thing that came to mind here. So one other, oh yeah, Elias, they're cooking, or parents cooking his food over a campfire. Elias is eating steak tartare, but Elias still cooks food kind of in the books. It's a minor thing. Then he says the reason why, like they intervened on Perrin's behalf with the White Cloaks, but they didn't reveal themselves because they don't go close to women who can channel. Because Aes Sedai don't trust what they don't understand. And then he says, neither do any other humans. So if your reason for staying away from the Aes Sedai is the same as staying away from all other humans, why are you with other humans, especially as a tracker to a bunch of Shinarans? So that doesn't make sense. I think this is a poorly written episode, just disguised with, not total moments of retardation, except this part where apparently the wolf will share his name with Perrin at a due course, and then he hops around like a dog getting treats, which is obviously how they filmed this. But from this, Pern decides that his name is Hopper, not the wolf who likes to soar, or he who soars through the air, or wishes he could fly. No, this is a dog jumping for dog treats, and they filmed it in a backyard somewhere and then put this effect on it. And I didn't think they could butcher a character more than Matt or Moron. Hopper's in the top 3 now, I think. This is absolutely fucking terrible. Okay, so the next scene, we're almost halfway through this, guys, and it's only taken me 20 minutes, but okay, so we got Lana's airtight barbecue. So Land first reads the poem. He should be able to read the Old Tongue and know what it kind of all means. Maxim, with his eyes here, looks like he wants everything in the universe to fuck him. That was my note. It's probably true. It gets revealed that Moron has masked the bond for 6 months, and apparently Alana does this too. Maxim complains about when he first got bonded, Alana was in his head all the time and it was difficult for him. Dude, like that is the thing about the water bond. You didn't know that going into it. Maybe he didn't. Maybe all he wanted to do was fuck Ivon, but lore breaking a little bit. And then apparently only gets the bond unmasked during battles and sex. Then it's implied that masking a bond for this long is against Tower's HR policy, which is also stupid. And then all I'm left with is this is 2.25 minutes of absolute stupidity, and I don't know why this is in the show. And I'm thinking here, like, why isn't Rand, coming into Kyrie and meeting Tom serendipitously, or Aludra? Well, like one of those characters we actually give a shit about. Why isn't he doing that? And instead, we've got this guy waxing poetic about his bondage at a wellspring. Fuck this show. Like, seriously. All right. Then we move to the Foregate, where Moron asks why a building burned down, and the guard basically says fire. So, great scene. Moron asks if there was a redhead nearby who, shaved his head. Well, Rand did shave his head, but the whole point of this is what I pointed out earlier. So Rand was smart enough to shave his head so he wouldn't be recognized as a redhead, although he was recognized. But he was too dumb to change his name, so Moron could have just asked if Rand was around, and maybe she would have gotten farther. Moron asked, "Do you know where she is or where he is now?" He shrugs, and then she walks off. So that's a minute of my life I'll never get back. All right, then we move to Kinslayer Dagger. This is also stupid because Rand starts off talking about how this mountain vista is incredible when he kind of like grew up on mountain vistas. We got the whole older woman thing with Landfire. She basically kids like, you're too young to have a past, and then Rand says something about like, oh, you'd be surprised. So he's alluding to all the times he finger blasted Egwene. Then Landfire's talking about Lewis Theron. We see that Rand has got herons not just on his sword but also on his belt that he's holding across his chest for some reason. Then Rand even goes to say that he grew up somewhere exactly like this. Basically undermining him, saying that the view was incredible because he would have seen it every day of his life, the different mountain range. And then the scene ends with like the wheel never gives you what you want, and then Landfire says like, if you want something, you have to take it. They stole that right from The Departed, like verbatim. That opening scene with Jack Nicholson or whatever about like, if you're Irish and like within 20 years we got the presidency, that's what they don't know. If you want something, you have to take it. Congratulations, Dave Hill, writer extraordinaire of the show. You plagiarized The Departed. So any copyright claim that Amazon makes about anything about the show, fuck you guys. You guys plagiarized The Departed. You guys are plagiarists to the umpteenth degree. You guys suck. This is terrible writing. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Everybody knows it's from The Departed. That film won the Oscar. You know what this show's going to win? Nothing. If there were Razzies for TV shows, you might win that, but you don't want to win that. So I think you're just grateful there are no Razzies for TV shows, because this fucking show would win it. Would even beat like Kenobi. Maybe not. Different years. You're lucky. You're lucky, Wheel of Time. Kenobi sucked. Okay, Kinslayer's dagger scene. That's over and done with. It sucked. The next one, we got the Min and Matt scene. Matt literally has fewer lines in this episode than the unnamed warder who was hitting on Nynaeve. Literally. It's like not even there. The only thing I'm left with out of this scene is why has she got an Under Armour shirt on? But we can move on from that. Then we've got a fairly long scene, 4 minutes or so, of Leandrin grooming Nynaeve some more. So they yak a little bit about the trials and what Nynaeve lost, and how she spent years in there and had like an alternate life. And in the actual book, she didn't, because It's all about tempting her with something, and then she had to realize that what she wanted was to be an Aes Sedai. So they're conflating the flicker, alternate lives. They're going to give it all to Nynaeve, which is kind of dumb. And then we get this whole thing about Leandrin has like a 90-year-old son, 80 or 90, she says. Most parents can kind of remember how old their kids are, at least to within a decade. So I don't know what's going on here. Leandrin's trying to be sympathetic. She lies about the 3 O's and how they're bound. Like, that's not how it works. And then she says something incredibly dumb that your child is the only thing that's truly yours. I don't think that's how kids work. I think you kind of, at a certain point in time in their life, you kind of want to let them go out the door and live their own lives. Maybe Leandrin didn't. And how did she keep this like child of hers in Tar Valon the whole time, like hidden? Like, wouldn't there have been like a time when, I don't know, her son was 17 when he said, "Thanks, Mom, I kind of want to go out on my own. You're kind of being overbearing. I kind of want to live somewhere else. I'll go to Ilion and I'll send you a postcard," or something like that. Like, apparently no. She's been possessive of her son, kind of like those German weirdos who keep their incest babies or whatever in their underground bunkers their whole fucking lives. I don't really want to speculate where this is going, but that's giving me these kind of vibes that Leandrin is a creepy incest fucking weirdo psychopath, which is kind of fitting. All right, then she conflates that the curse of the men going mad for channeling is the same thing as the curse for the women who live longer and therefore have to see people die. Good job, show. Way to conflate those two things that are like the opposite. Leandrin then goes on to talk about how the Aes Sedai rule the world. However, in the previous season, she said it's still a man's world. Nynaeve seems a little bit eager then to get groomed when Leandrin's like talking about if you lose one thing, you have to find another. And Nynaeve with puppy dog eyes is kind of like, "Am I your other?" And then non sequitur, Leandrin mentions attacks from the west to advance the plot. And within this whole thing, she mentions that there was a troop of Shinarans, as well as an Ogier and a blacksmith from the Two Rivers that got captured. And all I'm left thinking is, when the fuck was Pern a blacksmith? When did that get established? Because that certainly wasn't in season 1. He was a blacksmith's husband. That's what he was. Fucking bitch. All right. Then we've got Alana's airtight yoga retreat for the next 3 minutes. Maxim's wearing flip-flops, but I was semi-expecting that. We get a dumb conversation where someone's trying to say something profound. It's stupid. There's some sex jokes, and it's gross. And then Maxim, the super spy, leads Alana, the super duper spy, up to land Saddlebags, where they read the poem, and it's all looking suspenseful, and no one cares. Then we have a lovely tea party where Moron goes back home. She left like 65 years before. Apparently, the Damodreds, nothing's tied to Laman Sin and the old kings of Cairhien, so they're probably disconnecting all of that from the Aiel War. So we'll see what they do, but just bear in mind, like, the timelines no longer make sense because Moraine is like 85 years old. For some reason, there's a queen in Cairhien, and Barthanes is going to marry her. We're probably going to get that in the next episode, and that's probably going to be half of the next episode. Probably. I don't know about the Cairhienan conventions, but I'm pretty sure if Anna got married, she wouldn't be a Damodred anymore. And then she goes on to say to Moron, "I don't care what you think," when her entire actions the whole episode has been that the only thing she cares about is what Moron thinks. Anna reveals that she's outmaneuvered Moron because all of her eyes and ears are now hers. And in order to get the information she desires, she's going to have a cup of tea with her little sister. Oh, the drama. Yeah. And at this point, all I'm thinking is, you know, we could have had anything at this point. Like, we could have had Rand sneaking into Barthane's manor at this point and trying to get into the Waygate and realizing Machim Shin was like blocking the way. Like anything from the Great Hunt is honestly more interesting than a fucking tea party. What the fuck is wrong with you people? God damn it. Oh, it's going to get worse. All right. So now we get Toilet Wine Part 2. So, yeah. Apparently, Elaine is a master of brewing stuff in her chamber pot. But they've got more toilet wine, which honestly does look like urine here. So maybe it is urine. But Nynaeve bursts in. Do I have another? No, okay. Got a later shot for when they get nuked by Leandrin. But Nynaeve walks in and then says, I've been looking everywhere for you. But apparently she didn't look next door to her new best friend's room. Like, Egwene, where were you? I checked your room, and then I checked everywhere, and then I checked the next logical place last, which is your friend's bedroom. Nynaeve reveals her plan to Egwene that she's going to go after Pern and try and rescue him, and then says that Accepted can leave the tower grounds, or can leave the tower, but novices can't. No. Accepted can leave the tower grounds. They can't leave Tar Valon. Novices can't leave the tower grounds. So they ruined that part. Egwene's acting is still terrible. I think she sucks. I honestly think she can't act. Even when her mole is not facing the camera, she still can't act. It's fucking awful. Then she goes on to basically say that if only she was strong enough, then she could have gone to the Eye of the World and maybe Rand wouldn't have died. So, yeah, my note, she thinks she could have saved Rand if only she was ready. But the thing to remember is she was left behind. So it wasn't that she wasn't ready, and that's why she was under any circumstances. If she was already like the best Aes Sedai ever, they still wouldn't have taken her because they were operating under the assumption that anyone that's not the dragon going to the Eye of the World would have been dead. In fact, Egwene, the cow, asked about this specifically in season 1. It's like, what would happen to people who aren't the dragon that go to the Eye of the World? And the answer she got was, you would die. So with all that in mind, and the fact that later on in that same episode, she healed death, which no Aes Sedai or no one in this fucking universe has ever done, she still thinks she's not ready. So the first thing, she can already heal death, which makes her the most powerful Aes Sedai ever, and somehow she thinks she's not ready, and somehow she thinks that that was the reason she was left behind at the at Faldara and not gone to the Eye of the World. And for that reason, she has internalized the responsibility for Rand's death, and that's her motivation for going off to save Pern. You see how this is a shit tesseract, right? This is 4-dimensional shit. There's like 4 layers of idiotic reasoning going down in order to reach the conclusions that are written in this show. The people who are writing this are retarded. They should be institutionalized. Anyways. They go on. They're still using lanterns instead of their little glow bulbs. That was a nitpick. It's not a nitpick. God, no Aes Sedai ever would carry a fucking lantern with them. Dumb show. God fucking damn it. All right. Egwene asks Nynaeve as they're going down. So before this this finger blast scene with Leandrin, asks if Perrin and Loial are all right. Now, presumably the intel has taken months to reach them, but honestly, this type of conversation sounds like Nynaeve might be text messaging with Loial and Perrin, so it's dumb. But then at the very next scene, it's like, well, we're going to ride to Falm. So it's going to take some time to get there. And in the meantime, we can plan how to rescue him. Great. And then Leandrin shows up using the one power as a weapon. So if you weren't clear that she was a lying cow, you do definitely get it that she's Block Aja confirmed right now. Unless she isn't. And maybe the show contradicts itself a little bit again. Who knows? All right. We're 3/4 through this shit show. And now we're going to get into Min's circus flashback. So the key thing here to note is this is Teleran Riyadh. And maybe that's why like the later cuts with Ishamael are so disjointed. I didn't like those quick cuts. But this is like a grimdark version of Min's vision. So first, like, Gro's horrible auntie's turning into a carnival freak show. And then every single one of her visions is just like a horror freak thing. We already know it's a dream, so the odd cuts are unnecessary. And I just want to wonder, why does Min think that anyone can heal her or take away her visions from her? And then she gets the initial revulsion from when Ishi shows up and says that he could do it. And then she decides to make the deal with the devil anyways. Like, all right, Min, you suck now, but I think I said this as we were watching or before like live chat, or maybe it was on Prophet Stream. Like, I really don't want this to be our Min anyways. So she ends up being a traitorous dark friend getting her throat slit. Good. This is not show Min. She doesn't have the dump truck. She's fucking 45 years old and gross. So, yeah. All right. Then we get the cabin in the woods. This is a long ass scene. It's probably the longest one in the episode. But they're asleep on the ground outside the cabin for reasons. Maybe they thought it would be cool to sleep under the stars and like they threw down a bearskin cloak or whatever. But why is the cabin lit and why has it got a fire going? I don't know. They're sleeping outside because it's romantic. But anyways, Rand realizes, oh, there's a cabin. But apparently he goes to look at the cabin and then Voldemort appears behind him, apparates. And then Rand puts all his fucking learning in the sword forms from Errol to good use and promptly gets desorted or disarmed in 13 seconds. Rand then closes his eyes and surrenders to Sadar, and then burns the Murdral to cinders. And then Celine's initial reaction is, "What did you do?" And then Rand says, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," like he's Canadian. Then Celine reasons out that Rand can channel, and she acts afraid for about 35 seconds. Her first concern is that Rand burnt down her property, like that's going to do anything. Then they chat a little bit. Rand decides, I need to leave because you're not safe around me. He walks the other way. Never mind that his sword is opposite of him. Then Rand says that the madness that he'll suffer is killing the ones he loves. No, that was Louis Theron's thing. People went mad in different ways. They didn't always kill the ones they loved. So fuck you, show. But apparently this is enough to turn Celine on a dime to being like, that means you love me? Why didn't you tell me you can channel? Why is she saying this? Like, this is the most terrifying thing within this world. Like, that's how you get dumped, bitch. Like, seriously. Then I have a note here. Oh, yeah. Rand is saying she was the first woman who ever saw him as a man. And all I could think of here is, Rand, dude, if you want to be thought of as a man by other women, stop simping for them. That's like a good idea. And then, like, she continues turning on the dime. Of course, we all know that she's Landfire and would be like this, but the issue for me is why Rand is not reacting to Celine being completely out of not character, out of what would be a normal response for a normal person within this world. Like what kind of innkeeper would react like this? But anyways, apparently he's distracted, so he goes with Celine, completely forgets about his sword, and they go into the cabin to fuck. Oh, I skipped ahead a little bit. Sorry. I just simply didn't have a screenshot of where there's a quick cut back to the airtight Alana group, where apparently Lan doesn't know who the Daughter of Night is, but Maxim immediately knows they're talking about Landfire. And then we get this fun scene where Landfire is doing some bondage stuff, and we get the world's worst reveal. Rand can see Landfire's weaves, if that wasn't completely clear. And then Moron shows up, who conveniently picked up Rand's sword and murders her through the back. She goes on to slit her throat with the butter knife that she had promised to Logain. Moron knows that she can't kill the Forsaken, so she's already aware that resurrection is a thing in this world. She says that Landfire is the most dangerous of the Forsaken. She brings up that she can't lie, despite having lied constantly throughout season 1 and murdering people like Master Hightower. In a couple of shots in this cabin, you definitely see that there's no entry wound on Celine's back. Like literally, it's like right there. You see her full on back. There's no blood. There's no cut on the back of her shirt. They completely fucking forgot that. And then they run out the door, and Celine robo heals like she's the T-2000 or something from a Terminator film. So I'll kind of end it on this one. I give credit where credit is due. I fucking laughed my ass off when I saw this. It's posted on Wetlander Humor. Lakeside North, I love your meme here. It's a great way to put it in. Yeah, Celine, I'm a monster too. This is exactly her. And the one final observation I had of running through this is, let me stop sharing my screen here. I went through the credits, and aside from basically everyone who's working on the show having like an executive producer, co-producer credit, when it came to the acting credits, it went Pike, Henny, Robbins, Madden, Stradowski, Rutherford, Finn, the Elaine chick, the Min chick, the Alana chick, the Leanne chick, Moron's sister, the Ishi chick, and then tied with the Ivan and the Logain was the main character, Kate Fleetwood, who had probably the most spoken lines in this episode again, but definitely has the most spoken lines in the show so far. How the hell is that chick like got 8th billing and okay with it? I think there's a union dispute coming up here. Anyways, what are my key takeaways from this? This show still sucks. This is not fun. This is not good. There are some potential lore breaks coming up. We'll see how they treat Moraines' new age, for example, and other things. But it's just like, God, we're supposed to be halfway through the Great Hunt, if not all the way through, because they're combining this, the Great Hunt and the Dragon Reborn in the season. So by like halfway through, you thought you'd get through most of the great plot points of both those books combined. We've had none of it. So it continues to be a terrible fan fiction that no one gives a shit about. So yeah, guys, sorry for wasting your time on this drunk stream. Got nothing more to say. You know what? Maybe I can review some chat for a little while ago. All right, so let me pop up some people. Oh, holy shit, we actually have some people showing up. So Staple Bow is here. Thanks, buddy, for coming out. Yes, it is long periods of nothing punctuated by brief flashes of sheer stupidity. I agree with that. Agree. Oh yeah, Rand's katana. I thought about making a Highlander joke, but I hope someone else does that too. Who else have we got? John Boy PC. They butchered him pretty bad. I agree with that, what they did to Lan. And all right, who we got here? Articus is someone who went to a mental ward. I wasn't even allowed a drawstring for my sweatpant. Okay, I'm going to just say that might be a little bit TMI, but I hope you went there visiting rather than being committed. But yeah, I think my point on that one was essentially that Logain had other methods of suicide available to him and wasn't necessarily dependent on said knife from Moraine. More to the point is, how did Moraine actually end up with a knife with said mental patient? Now, it's Renaissance era setting, so I don't think they actually had proper nut house protocols. But anyways, chat, thanks for coming out. Like I said at the start of this is probably a terrible stream. It's not very good. I think it sucks, but like I said with episode 1, 2, 3, I think my review sucked less than the show, but it's a low bar to hop over. Anyways, thanks everyone. Walk on the light.